I just wanted to, emphasize a point that Mr. Fintap made before in his opening greetings. And this is the suggestions about a forum he calls the Kingston Club. Now this is very important. I mean, if you give it a bit of a thought, because organizations like Christian Aid have been debt campaigners, right? I mean, we like to make a lot of noise, put pressure on these governments and everybody else to cut down debt. But the structure of Jamaican debt from the CaPRI research seems to show that a lot of the instruments are domestically held. In a sense, the growth, that part of the debt stock that is growing the fastest are bonds and stocks. These bonds and stocks are largely held by brokers, mainly in Jamaica, maybe operating for as part of the international market. But the character of the debt has essentially narrowed the distinction between domestic and external debt. In that sense, it is very difficult, except the 8.5% or so which is held by multilateral institutions, it is difficult to have an international campaign or any sort of pressure to address the debt, because doing so suggests putting pressure on the domestic capital markets. That itself, the domestic capital market is very much interwoven in the domestic economy. So the same actors. So in a sense, until they are happy to sit around the table, to think about a way that can restructure the debt in a manner that doesn't create tensions for Jamaica in the capital rating market, it is difficult for anybody to do something about it. So in a sense, if the willingness to start to do something about restructuring the debt, given the nature of its composition, has got to be given leadership in Jamaica. And the rest of us from outside Jamaica will also try and put the pressure in the areas that complement it. So it would be really worthwhile exploring Fintap's suggestions about a Kingston Club of creditors, thinking through what is a sensible way of restructuring the debt in a way that does not create a negative rating backlash on the Jamaican economy, which also impacts the business sector as well. So just to throw that back to you.
I know we have looked at the whole FinSAC and the rise and the fall of FinSAC and the consequences of it, but I think what my comment first is CaPRI. What research, or can you do a research within the manufacturing sector and look at the impact FinSAC, since FinSAC came in, has had on the manufacturing sectors, which would also include jobs, manufacturing as well, and the support of the government where local manufacturers are concerned. However, I believe that is based on cronyism, because there's some companies that are local here that will get support from the government, and I won't call their names, but they're the private sectors, but the companies are in the private sectors. When it comes to the support, there's a lack of support, and what happens is that results into jobs. Job cuts, jobs being lost. Companies now can't afford to manufacture here because of the cost of carrying a machine and the tax added to it, so there's no support, so they have to move. The other thing is, and I think you made mention of taxes. I think you have to be careful how you talk about the increase of taxes in a country where the dollar per hand is not of much value to the average man. And so, because we're a country based on 30-70, 30% literacy versus 70% illiteracy, what that means is it's difficult for our larger population to sit down and reason logically with them because of our literacy rate. And so what that means in the future, we talk about our non-government organization, we talk about JUTC. Is a possibility then that what will start happening is a couple years from now we'll see the same effect we're having, because if we have a 30-70 ratio, when they cut staff, 400 that they're advertising now, a few years from now, most of the people they're going to be employing are people of the same average, which will result in the same cycle. So I think we have to be careful how we talk about taxes, how we talk about and measures that we look at, because it's not so much the failing of what the government has done for the country, but what it has done for the people. I think also my question now is, your title is Taking Responsibility. Let me phrase the question properly. Who does that affect? The government or the people? Who takes the responsibility? The government? When you say take the responsibility, who are you referring to? You're talking about the people or you're talking about the government? And if so, either way, what measures of responsibility are you talking about?
Well, I know we have a panel, but I think I'll take that question. In terms of responsibility, definitely our slogan, taking responsibility, from our perspective, of course, refers to all of the different sides of the equation. It's about CaPRI taking responsibility for its research, for making sure it puts the research out there and people know about it, whether they agree or disagree, for government to take responsibility for their actions and their responsibility to the citizens for which they have for whom they've asked to represent. And then for the citizens to realize that they have a responsibility. This is their country too. And they have a responsibility to, one, do what they can, i.e. pay your taxes. I like that slogan. But also, in fact, to be interested in the policies of the country and comment on it, and not just when they get the back end of it to grumble quietly in their houses, on their verandas, and say, well, we didn't like that, and do nothing else. So all of us have to take responsibility that Jamaica is our country. It's not somebody else's country that we happen to live in. It's ours.